This podcast is sponsored by YRC Real Estate Group, offering a tailor-made service, versatility and expertise for all your real estate needs. Are you thinking about selling, buying, investing or having your properties managed? For more information, check our website, www.yrcrealestategroup.com. We are passionate about real estate and we love to support local businesses. We hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Cheers.
You know, you guys are the first twins on our podcast. That's
awesome. Hopefully not the last.
Today we got a very interesting topic. It's going to be sales. And we have Karen and Kirstin Walton. Which one's Karen?
I'm Karen. I'm Kirstin.
Karen and Kirstin. And they started a company called Sales from Scratch. Tell us about Sales from Scratch and what you guys do, what you guys are all about.
Yeah, so Sales from Scratch, we're essentially a sales training company and a mindset training company for very new salespeople who want to level and scale their skill set to become masterful. So all things sales. The reason why we actually created the name Sales from Scratch is because we're training from the ground up. Things like prospecting, vetting, follow-up, how to actually run a meeting, what kind of questions to ask, like literally the whole sales cycle. And it's really like around heart-centered sales because yeah, I mean, we've done a ton of sales training in our time, and we just find that a lot of the training is transactional and it's not very effective at the end of the day because the training isn't really like on the court. So Sales from Scratch is just, yeah, we created this company to help people like win in their sales day, you know, and to have fun in sales again and to like really be authentic and come from the heart, even in like the most intense business deal. So yeah, just bringing like the heart of the matter into conversations, you know, and it's been awesome so far. Yep. And it's been nice to actually get back to the human element, like the emotional element of sales, because that has such a big part in it. And just like what Karen was saying, we noticed that all the sales training we've taken, and you know, it's like a combined 30 years we've been in sales, right? And a lot of it is like, it feels almost robotic in a sense. And so we really wanted to break through that robotic feel and get back to the human element connectedness feel, especially, you know, now that we're in the pandemic, just, you know, encouraging people to get back to that and then like really hone it in their own businesses, you know? So, yeah.
What were you guys doing before? Like, what's your 30-year experience? And how new is this business, I guess? Like, what were you guys doing before? And then when did you guys get this going?
That is a great question. Well, before, if we take it like way back, we actually come from a family of salespeople, if you can't tell.
Oh, really?
My dad, my uncle.
Are you sure?
Grandfather, grandmother too. She was a real estate agent. So like we've been surrounded by salespeople literally from birth. And actually just a quick story, which I think is really fun to share because so we're living in Kelowna and we were 9 years old at the time, super bored. It's like kind of like winter, super crappy out. We're like, hey, so we go into the crawl space of our basement and we're like, hey, let's find something to do. So we used to love candles, like be pyro kind of. I'm sure you guys were too. So we were like, okay, you know, and we loved different like colors and scents and all that kind of stuff. So we were like lighting candles and just melting the wax for fun. Like just as kids, just, you know, kids get creative and stuff, right? So we're like melting the wax. Again, we're in this like little crawl space, right? So it's like just, and so we're melting the wax and we're molding it and we kind of like mold it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks like a little like Kinder Surprise. Like, this is so cool. And then Chris is like, oh my God, we should put something in it. So we like create this thing called Candle Babies. And
at 9 years old?
At 9 years old, we created, and we're like, oh my God, this is actually like so cool. We were like sealed it with a different color of wax and the smell, and there was a little marble surprise inside. And then we're like, well, now what do? We have like 10 of these candle babies, like, because we just kept making them because it was fun. And we're like, well, maybe our neighbors would like let's just go talk to the neighbors and see if they would want some. So we literally go door knocking.
Wow, at 9?
Yeah, it was, yeah, at 9 years old, because we just wanted to like share it. So, and again, we had just, I think we had the foundation of being outspoken from a younger age and just to like engage with people. So we went door knocking, and we were a little nervous at first, right? Going, oh my God, like, so we go to the first door and knock on the door, and it's our neighbor Diane. She goes, hi girls, and we're like, hi. And Kirstin actually did the pitch. It was hilarious. She's like, hey, so we just made she does this pitch about candle bees. Like, would you like one? And we're selling them for $1.25 or whatever we were selling them for. And we literally sold out in like an hour. We just kept door knocking. So that's kind of like how we started, and going, oh my God, if we create something that people need, that's one thing. But you have to be able to sell it, like that. So that skill set kind of got built into us from a younger age.
I just remember it being fun. It was like, oh my God, we can like make something, go up to people's doors, knock on the doors. And we were so nervous. I remember the first door, I was like, oh my God, like shaking, go up to the door and knock on the door. And then once we got that first sale, like we actually got money, coin money. Like, remember toonies?
Oh yeah.
We got like a bunch of toonies, and we're like, oh my God, we have money. Like, when you're a kid and you get like $5, you're like, well, I'm rich. And, and so that's exactly what happened. And then we just kept door knocking. So we just kept going. Pretty soon they're all sold. We're like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like, honestly, from teenagers, we worked at Proactive Solutions. So we ran the kiosks at the age of like 16. So she worked in, because at that point we actually moved to Calgary. Kirstin was running a kiosk in South Center. I was running a kiosk in Market Mall. So we were like selling Proactive Solutions because we're struggling with acne and stuff. So we were like, we're always trying to like find a solution and like share it with others, So we did like Proactive Solutions throughout high school. And then we went through to university. Kirstin took business. I took public relations. And then we just literally out of university, we both worked for L'Oreal in outside sales. And we just kept, it was like L'Oreal. And then like Canada Goose jackets and Nespresso and the wine business and the cannabis business and now the telecom business and now the sales training business. So it's like literally been from a very young age. So
yeah, I remember when
you guys worked at L'Oreal.
Oh, did you?
No, I didn't know you guys worked at L'Oreal. Just
yeah.
That's interesting. Because how was the training like for all these different companies? Because obviously there's in such different sectors and industries that they're training and what's it called? The sales would be so different in each of them.
That's so true. Well, there was something called Commercial Academy at L'Oreal, and it's where top performing reps go. You go for a week, and then you learn all about like personality colors. You do tons of role playing. And that's something that I found, even though it gets a little bit awkward sometimes, like role playing with your coworkers and colleagues and things like that, it makes the world of a difference. And that's why we've also incorporated, like in Sales from Scratch, actually like real-time role playing and applying the concepts in real time so that people can actually do it. And so, like it's also just the differences in the sales training have been completely shifted from one industry to another. Like, at L'Oreal, it was like medical grade skincare, and then Canada Goose, it's apparel. And it just, the different types of training have taught us how to deal with different buying personalities, different colleague personalities. We always say there's like your external customers and your internal customers, because we're all customers to each other too,
And that's true. We had like decent training, but the truth is, like in the workplace, actual sales training is not great.
Yeah,
definitely. So that's what I found out. We kind of discovered. We started taking sales training from like Tony Robbins, the Grant Cardone guys. We started like diving into Zig Ziglar. Like, honestly, because I just had this experience. Like, every time I would go into a new sales role, it was like, okay, here's your list. Go ahead and make some calls. Have fun with that. And I just honestly was like, what the heck? Like, where do I start? What do I say to people when I cold call out? Like, what happens when an objection comes up? And so I found myself, and Kirstin too, but we started doing a ton of our own research because the training was just pretty mediocre.
It was basic level. Like, it was fun and it was great, but it was basic. And
And so you guys found out with most companies, there is no real good training.
There isn't. And you know what? The thing is, the training is what's lacking in the training is the actual like written scripts. As Kurs mentioned, like role playing. Like, you know, so often salespeople just go out there and practice on their customers, and it's such a miss, because not only are you screwing up with customers, you're missing out on the revenue, right? And the confidence, you're taking a hit on your confidence.
Yes.
So
I feel like that's like 95% of all realtors. They don't know what they're doing when they get into real estate. Like, yeah, when I got my mortgage license, and then real estate, like I didn't know I don't like the word salesperson, but you are in sales, right? And I think that's what's happening with a lot of businesses, is where, you get into, something like a realtor, there is no real training. Like there's training on how to do things, but they kind of just throw you up. Like as a realtor, you're just an independent contractor, right? So you're learning as you go, right? Per deal. And like you guys said, you're practicing on real clients.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It sounds like when you first started, like, was it an experience of like, oh my God, okay, like who do I call? What do I say when I call? What's the next step? What about the meeting? What do I ask? How do I, what about the negotiation process? Like, oh my God, the closing, when do I stop selling? When do I start closing? Was it like, whoa, that
Well, it was like, okay, so for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to become a mortgage broker, right? And then when I got my license, I'm like, okay, I'm a mortgage broker. I'm like, well, then now what? And then I'm like, I realized I'm not in the mortgage business. I'm in the like people to people business. So, and that's the same as real estate, right? You're actually not in like the selling homes. Obviously, like that experiences helps you, but you're more into like the relationships, right? You're into the relationships, which gets you the business. So like, yeah, you do need to call people. You do need to create that connection for them to trust you to do business, right? And then that's something they don't teach you in when you take these courses, right?
Yeah. Exactly. What we found is a lot of it is technique based. But when you actually get out there and you're dealing human to human to human, it's a totally different ballgame. So actually diving in to an experiential, more transformational type of training experience and learning experience versus like, okay, here's like, a list of techniques that you can apply. It doesn't help people as deeply as it can,
Yeah.
So,
it's literally the biggest thing with sales. Notice how it isn't taught in schools.
Yep.
It's not taught in university. There's marketing, there's business, but there's not sales. Why is that? Because sales is the number one skill set for any entrepreneur. If you don't have a sales skill set, like, come on, we need sales for literally everything that we do.
Right? Like sales.
Like Jason's selling David on being on time. I'm kidding. But like, right? Like, I'm selling Kirstin on, working with me, at Shaw as an example too. Like when I brought her on, so it is, we're always selling, but I think that the misconception is sales is sleazy and sales is a soft skill. Oh, it's a soft skill. It's not that important. It's not a real profession. It's like, yeah, but it's like literally the clinch pin between us and anything that we want.
100%.
Yeah.
Why do you think sales has a bad name?
Oh my God. Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Have you heard of used car salesmen? No, I'm kidding. No. I have so much respect for car sales guys. It's like, that is such a tough game, but I think it's just, it's that kind of whole adage of, salespeople doing everything they can to just like pull wool over people's eyes. And really it's not about that. It's about like genuine human connection, genuine understanding of people's actual needs, helping them, really coming from like a serving mentality. How can we grow and contribute together, toward a collective vision or whatever vision your customer is looking for? In your guys' case, making their biggest purchase of their life in some cases, right? Like buying a home for their family. And so it's so far beyond trying to, loop somebody into something. It's way more about that connection and actual journey together, between you guys, for example, or clients and salespeople. You know, Tony Robbins always says, he's like, sales is simply a transfer of human emotion.
Yeah.
So think about it. We're human emotion transfers.
Yeah.
When you actually think about it.
Answer your question, Jason, because it's a great one. Like, why do you, because people go, it's just a salesperson. They sell, you can't trust these sales guys. It's like that, right? Like even sometimes, you know, if I walk into a car dealership, like sometimes I feel like that, but I think it's because historically sales has been kind of like a trickery in a certain sense, right? Like you look at like the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, he's the best example, right? Like when he gets into the stock game, he, you know, starts seeing like, oh my God, this potential to like basically trick people into buying stocks, you know, this like, because sales is a lot about numbers and pressure and all that stuff. So if people don't know why they're in sales and they're not actually coming from a place of service, it gets like it kind of gets like a greed game. It's like a cycle. People are like, oh my God, because the more sales you make, the more money you make. Oh my God, oh my God, how and then it's like this, the just human nature of a deception takes over. So that's the thing. Like, it's actually why we created Sales from Scratch as well, is for people to like connect to why they're in sales. Sales is just service. It's all it is, you know, at the highest level and at the most authentic level. So I think like just examples like, the stock guys, car guys, just, I think it's like having that pressure to literally do whatever it takes, like ethically. So whatever. It's a shame that that's such a bad rep, by the way. But well, and that's the thing too, like, you know, the ABC, always be closing, always be customer centric, you know, let's even shifting that, you know, and just like what Karen was saying, it's so true. You know, the human, you know, emotion, energy transfer, that's so key. And just stepping away from the mechanics, like, you know, they say 80% of everything is psychology and connection, and then 20% is the mechanics. A lot of the time, it's like salespeople get so caught up in the mechanics, they lose the connection, and then people are like, they're not bought into it.
Yeah, I think so too. Because like at the end of the day, everything in life is a sale. Like your relationship is a sale. Like you have to be convinced to be to actually want to start dating this person, or like if you're, you know, what's it called, like driving and you're making a left turn, like you're making those thoughts to make to come to a conclusion of if that's safe to go, right? So it's like everything is kind of a negotiation. The sale is just how you perceive it, right? And it's kind of like that Grant Cardone book. It's like sell or be sold, right? You just need to figure out what side of that spectrum you're on. Are you the consumer, or are you the seller, you know? So that's just part of life.
Totally. Yeah.
I feel like for us, we actually made a podcast about why we're not just a typical realtor, you know, because we don't want to just be known as like selling houses. I think it's just like the new way is like helping with the process, or just helping you get what you need. Very like not sleazy, I would say, you know, just being authentic and being like, hey, this is what it is. We could help you get where you need to go. And there's no like sleaziness behind it, right?
Totally. And it sounds like you guys have honed in on the authenticity of it, which is also why we love you guys and working with you too, because we know you're not out to screw us. Like we know. We know.
Well, you gotta watch out for Dave. He's pretty sneaky.
Okay.
Dave, we'll watch out for you. No. Like it's so true. Like just to your point, like and even Simon Sinek's why, right? Like people buy why you're selling what you're selling, not what you're selling. And I think that's I think a large part of, you know, old school sales, or like sales back in the 1950s, people were so focused on what they're selling, they have no clue why they're even selling it. So that's a huge other part of that, you know, underlying connection, that gut feeling of people are, you know, when people have a hunch and they're like, I don't know, I just don't feel right about that particular sales guy. It's because they have no idea why that sales guy's selling what he's selling, you know.
Start with why.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I've been trying to implement that with our team, but I think everybody's a little too busy for that right now. But we've been trying to focus on like why we're doing things and why you know, we wake up every day to go into in our real estate business, right? So it's like the why should supersede anything else. So, but I feel like a lot of people don't know why they're doing the things they're doing. They're just doing them. You know,
Oh, that's so true. It's like they say the power of our life, or sorry, the quality of our lives are in direct proportion to the quality of questions we ask. So that's the whole why game, right? So it's like when we went through this with Simon Sinek with Sales from Scratch, because we're like, why are we doing it? You know, why do we have this company? And we got to, well, we want to help. Why? So that people can win in their sales game. Okay, but why is that? Well, if people win in their sales game, then they're going to feel like they're actually achieving stuff. They're going to feel like they're progressing. Progress equals happiness, right?
So this is why you guys started Sales from Scratch.
Yeah, like actually so we started Sales from Scratch about a year ago. And I was temporarily laid off from my sales job at Shaw Business. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like the pandemic had just hit and I'm sitting there going like all of this uncertainty. And I'm like, what am I going to do with my time? Like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking, oh, we got to create our own economy. Like, like all of this stuff, right? So I literally I had time. So I was like, you know what, just talking with friends who were still in the sales game. And we were just talking and I had a few friends just be like, hey man, oh my God, I don't know how to like get in front of customers right now. I can't go door knocking because we're like on quarantine. Oh my God, what's going on with like online meetings? This is so awkward. Like it was all so new for us. Now it's like second nature.
Yeah.
But a year ago it wasn't. And so I was like, well, just throwing out ideas. Why don't you do this? Hey, I have this cold call script that I created a while ago. Do you want to work with me? And so I started just working with friends. And then I remember, you guys know Nino, but our good friend Nino, she's like, Karen, why the heck aren't you selling this? I was like, selling what? She's like, why don't you create a program? I was like, what? And because I was like, what do I know? Because to us, it's kind of like you guys in real estate, you're like, oh, I know that. It's like, you know things that people like us would be like, oh my God, we're taking notes, but you're like, for us, it's like common knowledge. So that's kind of how it was. And that's kind of how this whole thing started. And then I saw Nino start really winning in her sales game. Like she literally tripled her commission. And I think it was like 4 weeks. I was like, holy crap, girlfriend. We ended up partnering and all this stuff. But I was like, wow, okay, people need this. People need the way that we're doing this, not just the what. The why is important, but what about the how?
Yep.
Because that's the biggest thing missing in training is like, how do you actually do it though? I want the actual script. I want the actual questions. I want the actual follow-up plan. I want the actual this, because a lot of it is just like, here's what you should do. It's like, but how? So yeah, that's kind of how we created
Yes,
it.
actually, and that's a good point because by then we're like, okay, we want to get like we actually hired a business coach who's like a content expert so that we could take everything from here that we know, like, and they say condense decades into days and weeks is just exactly what we've done. Because knowledge nowadays, especially in the face of the pandemic, this is one of our largest assets, knowledge, and being able to share it and help other people with it. So we took everything from here, put it here with an expert so that we could actually curate stuff. So it's like, you know, professional and you know, making the bigger impact.
During the pandemic, you guys realized like you guys were good at sales, and then you guys decided to like create sales from scratch, and then you guys got like a business coach to help you create the business sales from scratch.
Yeah,
is that right?
Exactly. And so that is such a good question because I find that a lot of people, especially in the digital space, the knowledge broking space, you know, is what it's termed at, I guess. But knowledge broking is huge. It's the new up and coming way of learning, like this education revolution that like Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, they're all in it because it's a huge wave that's coming. Traditional education and learning styles are going to start phasing out eventually. You know, that's what a lot of people are predicting. So it's like when you guys, all of us, everybody can take their knowledge and curate it in a way that actually lands with people, then that's the biggest thing. And like the integrity of our business coach who we were working with starts translating through every single part of us, because we've learned that in order to become an expert at something, model the expert already doing it. So that's exactly what we decided to do so that we could, you know, expedite things. And instead of taking 3 to 5 years to do something, take like 3 to 5 months. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important nowadays, because it's like, that's what'll phase out a lot of the older people, is like the technology, right?
Yeah.
And the speed of things, especially with the speed of knowledge now.
Yes.
It's like, if you could do something that it took someone to take 10 years to do in half the time, then that's money, right? Like you could be like quadrupling them by in the same amount of time that they've done things, just because of what you've done to integrate and learn based off technology. And I feel like that's what we've noticed in our industry as well too, is that older generation, they're having a really hard time with keeping up, just because of social media. Or like not even having a website, not even having a web presence on anything, right? So it's like you're seeing that technology and just like the availability of knowledge, if you're not keeping up with it, then like you're going to be out quick.
No, I could not agree more. The availability of knowledge and keeping up with it. That's such the key. It feels like nowadays, 1 month feels like a week, whereas like, you know, years and years ago, 1 month felt like a month. now, you know, time really is speeding up, like the speed of light, as we say. And so it's true, like condensing it is becoming a necessity now. Otherwise, people are just going to get left behind. Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, what made you guys decide to get a business coach? Because I find, well, I know for us and a lot of businesses, when they get into a new business, they kind of just try it themselves first. But what actually influenced you guys to get a business coach, and how highly would you recommend it?
I love that question. You know what? We were motivated to get a business coach probably a couple weeks in, to actually, like, Karen basically came.
Actually, can I? So
what happened is we started, like, so we hadn't created any content yet. We just had an outline, and our big why. We want to help people in the pandemic, like we just said, right? We want to help people win. And so we just started like putting feelers out there, and suddenly we had like 10 people signed up for our boot camp, and we're like, oh my God. And we had a date. So we had 10 people signed up. I think it was like the end of September. And the date of the boot camp was like mid-November or something. And so it was like, oh my gosh, like what motivated
last November.
Yeah, like just, yeah, exactly.
Most recent, yeah.
Most recently. And so we were like, holy crap, we don't have any content created. How are we going to deliver this? What about the, like, so it was literally like, we have 6 weeks to do this. It was like, honestly, if we try learning this on our own, it'll take us to like 2025. Like, no, let's leverage. Yeah. So we started like feeling out, actually in the Landmark community, hey, we need a business coach. We need a content expert. And we actually tried one coach, paid her like way too much money, but anyway, she didn't end up working out. And we're like, oh my God, that was like after, so just like learning how to pivot really quickly. So what motivated us was, we need someone who can guide us, because the truth is, if like, I feel like that's kind of the baby boomer generation, by the way, mentality. I'm not like knocking the boomers. I love the boomers, but a lot of the without the boomers, we wouldn't even be here. That's true. But it seems like a lot of them wanted to do everything on their own. You know, like, I can figure it out. You know, like even our dad, you know, like, yeah, he's a great business guy, but gosh, he wanted to do everything himself because he thought he can do it better, you know? And I think in today's day and age, it's like, no, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Let's gain some leverage, have guidance from someone who's already done this for 30 years. Like, do you know, it's like the cycle perpetuates. So yeah, that's really what motivated us though, was like, oh my gosh, we got these sales, we have the date, we have 6 weeks to get this done and deliver for people. Holy crap, we need help. That's like actually what happened. Yeah. And I would definitely recommend it to anybody, get a business coach. 100%. Yes. If it's not a specific business coach, model somebody in work with an expert who's already successful in doing what you want to do, because it's going to cut a 3 to 5 year process down to like probably 6 to 12 months. And then whatever impact you want to have, you can have it 5 times quicker. You can start impacting people now instead of waiting. And the other thing too is that I notice, like David, you were saying before, like the pace of things has increased so much that people are doing whatever they can to keep up because things are going as fast as they are nowadays. Especially everyone's on Zoom every day. I mean, look at us, like, and we're lucky that we can have this technology and stay connected and do these things because it's fun and it's awesome. At the same time, you know, a content idea or knowledge ideas, if they're not done for 3 to 5 years, they're already going to be outdated by then. So it's like, you know, modeling an expert, working with them and expediting things quicker can allow you to then evolve it over the years instead of, you know, continually trying to catch up. So yeah.
I feel like what I've seen for myself is when I first started, I was that mentality. I'll do it all myself. I'll figure it out myself. And as our team grows, I'm seeing the younger generation, like the associate that we just joined us, he's asking all these questions that I'm like, I wish I did what he did. Like he's with a team now that already has all that experience versus like when I started, I was learning from all my mistakes, you know? And now I see what he's done. He's like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And me and Dave are giving him like gold, I feel. And like, it's just like, yeah, like that mindset at the very young generation is like, they're okay to ask for help, I feel. It's very different.
I think it's also good to just have a mentor, like someone that has done what you want to do, right? Because in that way, as those guys get older, they're okay with sharing that knowledge with you and how they've done things and their experiences, right? So it's good to have like you said, like people that have done it before, like it's like that book, like Tribe of Mentors, right? Like there's things that people have done that have been done for a long time, but it's like you could just kind of tap into their experiences, whether it be like books, training courses, audiobooks, like actual mentor or coaches. Because like I've actually taken your guys' course, right? And I feel like I got a lot out of it, both me and PJ. So I feel like we want to implement that into our own sales stuff now and the training of our own people, just so that we can all be on the same page of sales and negotiations and stuff like that, and just really building good relationships with our clients, understanding their needs and wants, pain and pleasure is a huge one that we got from that course. And I feel like those are things that they don't like. It's hard to learn that if you don't know about it.
Yeah.
You know what? I just wanted to, I love that, Dave. And you know what? So we have a rule at Sales from Scratch. We invest more in ourselves and in mentorship than we do anything else. That's literally like for our expenses, that's the first thing that comes off, even with our own personal selves, like before we had this company. So I think you guys can relate to that. And I think that's a miss with some people. So I used to have the mentality like, Jason, I'm going to relate to you. I just want to do it all myself. It'll be easier. Oh, I don't want to put out the money. Oh my God, but is it going to be worth it? Does this person know what they're talking about? I'm sure I can learn it just as fast. Oh, I can probably learn it better. Like that whole, and it's easy to think that way when you're not under pressure to deliver something. But because I used to be like very stingy on investing in myself for anything. I was like, oh, maybe I should like invest in like, should we do another real estate? Like always thinking about like how to make like investing in something to make money and cash flow, which is fine. But my mindset was so off. Yeah. So that's our rule at Sales from Scratch, you know, because the truth is if we're not feeding ourselves, like not just our minds, but our hearts are like, you know, continually connecting to why we're doing it. Honestly, it's kind of like a huge miss. It's kind of like missing the boat, you know?
100%, because that's the thing, like everything starts internally. So if we don't have like, you know, internally sales from scratch, if we're not investing in ourselves and the knowledge and the experts so that we can curate things at the highest level and get it done as efficiently as possible, like we have no hope in hell of controlling anything outside of us if we don't get this right and this inside of the business. So just like what Karen's saying, you know, a lot of people in businesses, they're striving for external things to propel them forward, but it really starts inside and then goes outward. That's just been our experience. And that's why we're so committed to whatever expenses we have, okay, invest in it, pay the money, and then bring it outward. Yeah.
Okay, anyways, I was just saying, like, it's just interesting that a lot of people will not invest in themselves, right? And like, it's easy to invest in stuff exterior. Like, people won't, like, they don't care about spending money on like clothes or like shoes or, nice cars, like a big fancy home, all this stuff. But it's like, okay, you're investing in all these exterior things, but you're not even willing to invest, like, I don't say, like 10 grand into yourself. Like, how does that make sense? Right. So I feel like a lot of people, they would prefer to not do that, just because they think that this is like, those other things mean success. But it's like, if you don't have success in your mind, how can you have success like on the exterior as well? So
that is such a good point, because and I think part of it too, when people are hesitant to invest in themselves, it's because they seem to think they're going to be more fulfilled with something external, because people, like human beings, tend to kind of lean toward tangible things that they can see, they can feel, they can touch. And as we grow more into this digital realm, it's like transformational work isn't that tangible. Like, it's inside and it's transforming us. But like, if somebody were to choose like a Ferrari over like a transformational experience, a lot of people will go for the Ferrari because they can drive it, they can see it, they can touch it, but it devalues, it costs money to keep up, it could get stolen, it could go away. Transformational work and that internal investment in knowledge, emotions, all levels of the human condition, no one can take that away from you or us.
Actually, can we share?
I like that.
I just thought of a story here. So Kirsten and I grew up fairly wealthy. Okay. Like, our dad was a business owner. We were like spoiled kids, that kind of thing. Right. And we lived in Kelowna, had a great life. And my dad took his company public, and that was great. And then he had a company in the US literally steal the patent of his technology, a software technology, steal the contract. He had been working with the US Army bases, like the DoD, all this stuff. And this company decided to just basically rip the carpet out from under my dad's feet. And he then partook in like a 5-year lawsuit, lost everything overnight. So we went from like, literally people say like, oh, go to rags to riches. Like, no, for us, it was the opposite. And I remember like in that moment, I was like 15 years old. We were living in Calgary at the time. And, I can just see my dad's face is like, he's like gutted, basically, like, oh my God, he's lost his shirt on everything. Oh my God, we don't have a backup, all this stuff. And suddenly, like, the house, the cars, I used to be so connected to that. I used to like, yeah, this is my dad. Yeah, I'm proud of it. That, the significance piece, I was so connected to. And when we lost all of that, and when I saw us like counting pennies, actual jars of pennies, and rolling them rolling coins on a kitchen table. Yeah. In that moment as a teenager, suddenly the fear kicked in of like, holy shit, shoot, we need to invest in ourselves. So from like a young age, Kirsten and I were like, literally like, hey, how can we get better? How can we increase our personality? What kind of work can we get into? Because we don't have a backup anymore. Nope. And that can happen overnight. Oh my gosh, that was like a huge wake up call for us. And I think because we're like, who are we without all of that stuff? Yeah. Who are we if we just strip us all away? Who really are we deep down? Yeah. So that's why we invest in ourselves, is because of that experience as a teenager. So just wanted to share that. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, we were the rich kids on the block, and then we became the extreme poor kids on the block. And all of a sudden our identities are like, your ego takes a hit as a young teen, and it's like, there's pressure. It's kind of embarrassing. It's like, oh my God, you feel kind of ashamed. And then you start realizing that the more your identity is connected to material items, the more on the other side of the tracks you need to start going, so that all of what's inside of us cannot be taken away again. Because and you know what, at the time, even though it was like such a terrible experience, watching our dad go through that in our family, it's the best thing that ever happened to us.
The struggle. They don't teach that, and I feel like that's just life, right? I feel like in order for you to endure, you need to experience struggle, because if you've only known
Yep.
the good and never experienced the bad, like when that shit hits you, it's like you don't know where to go. So I think it's really good to have a contrast between the two,
Yes.
and understand, because then now you've experienced both, and now you can choose where you want to lie between them.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
That's an awesome story. And I think, yeah, I think what happened for me was I really started investing in myself, I don't know, about 10 years ago. And it all came from this, I don't know what seminar it was, but she was making a big deal about, you know, you guys invest, you know, girls invest $2,000 on a bag, you know, and just can you invest, you know, $800 on themselves over a weekend? And then I was just like, damn, that's kind of true, right? A lot of people will buy these things and not invest in themselves. And that's when I think at that point I was like, yeah, I'm just going to start investing money on myself. And when I told my friends and people how much I was taking these courses for, they were all like, what are you doing? You're getting robbed, right? But what you guys said is true. Everything I've learned has stuck with me over the last 10 years. And I think that's what people don't realize is it does stay with you, right? So
and you know what, and that's why you're leading a winning team. That's why you're the entrepreneur. That's why, you know, because you have the foundation and distinctions, and it's like, again, a decade of investing in yourself. It's just like you're the leader now, because once you reach, just real quick shared as well, like, don't you guys feel that, like, you know, you're going through this transformational work, or, you know, constantly every day learning and growing, and you get to a point where you've grown so much, because that's one of our human needs is growth, then it's like, oh wow, I want to now contribute. Like, what's the next level from growth is contribution. Right. So you guys are like now contributing to a team. Okay, we want to like help real estate people, like real estate salespeople, win. We want to create a winning team. Whereas if you're at a level of, like, let's say significance, your need is mainly significance. You're not at the growth level. You're not at the contribution level. The majority of the world is at the significant level. And it's on the one side, it's kind of like, oh my God. But on the other side, it's up to people like us. It's like, I feel it's a responsibility. It's like a duty, isn't it? Like, think about okay, we've grown so much, we're going to keep growing, but now it's time to like give back and contribute and help other people, you know? So that is such a good point, because when people think feeling important is worth more than actually like serving and growing and contributing to the greater, you know, like, we're a team here, and I is group, right? That's a distinction we've all learned. I actually is group. It's the overall collective group being propelled forward, you know, and if one person's out of integrity, everybody's out of integrity. And a lot of, you know, the individualistic viewpoint of like, oh my, I need to be important. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to like feel like they're getting acknowledged and things like that. Cracking out of that though, because it drives every single one of our decisions. So when people come from a place of I need to be important, and they're forgetting about like serving people, growing, contributing, getting beyond that, and propelling the whole, you know, when the water rises, all ships rise, versus one boat being like an independent water canal, it rising and everyone else stays here. Like, it's about the collective, right? But again, that drives business decisions, drives our personal decisions, drives how we relate to all, like, each other, your guys' teams. And that's also why we love working with you guys too, because we know that you're collective. You're about the collective, and a lot of people aren't. They're just like, oh well, what about me, you know? And so
me.
So tell us about your business and how you guys been able to grow it and what you guys did. I guess your business is sales, so you have to not only get the clients, but now you're teaching the clients. So how did you guys go about that, like starting literally for yourself a new business, completely new business of sales from scratch, and then creating sales from scratch?
Yeah, great. That is a great question. You know, so we have literally used all of the like the what, the why, and the how of what we teach in sales from scratch is what we use. So like honestly, I cold call a lot. Like we have there's marketing and sales are very different. So we also have like the marketing side of things that we're working on, because there's one thing to have like, you know, a product that you're able to sell anywhere online and have the marketing funnels and stuff. But that's one thing. That's one avenue of it. In terms of the sales side though, for me, it's all about networking. It's all about prospecting. It's all about getting attention in the marketplace. Who are we talking to? Who are we, you know, who do they know? You know, the power of tens. You know, you talk to one person, you guys get this, right? Power of tens. You talk to one person, sell them a house. Oh, what about Auntie Susan? Oh, what about Uncle Jim? Now the whole family's selling their homes with you, and you guys have not just one client, but you know, have 5 clients, you know, just from that one connection. So a lot of it for me is prospecting. Again, getting in front of people, not being afraid to share what we're up to. That's actually, David, that's how
the biggest thing.
That's, I remember that this was what, 2 months ago. We're in a conversation about selling our home. Jason, you were on the line too. And
yeah, it was, yeah.
that started, and it was like, oh my gosh, should we sell right now? We're not sure. Should we renovate? We have a tent, blah, blah, blah stuff. And then it's like, oh, what else are you guys up to? And it was just sharing, hey, we actually created this company. We're helping people win in sales, like whatever. And you're like, oh, wait. So just, I think so to answer your question, prospecting, doing the follow-up, doing the actual sales process. Yeah, that's one arm of it. The second arm is marketing. And, you know, we're literally, we will be scaling up this year. Oh my God, literally from 0 to like, what, 3,000%. Like it's going to be, our projections are crazy. And even like month over month, it's been really fantastic. So, but I think, so I used to be a person that, and I think some salespeople feel like this, and let me know if you can relate, but, oh, okay, I'm the one who asks questions. I'm the salesperson, you know, I'm going to let my client talk, and I might share a little bit. I'm not going to really share too much. That's how I used to approach conversations. And I knew everything about someone, but they knew literally nothing about me. And the whole, they called, I think Zig Ziglar, one of the old school sales guy, calls it a tennis match in a conversation, right? So it's like, if you're serving the ball to someone and they're literally just keep missing it, there's no like rally. And so how it used to look in my conversations was kind of like a one-way conversation, me asking questions, them giving me answers. And I realized, oh my God, that's a huge miss, you know? And so now through transformational work, I realized I got to start sharing what I'm up to, because people actually care. I think before I didn't feel like almost worthy enough. Like those are the two human fears, by the way, right? Not feeling good enough and not being loved. So I think I had this like, who's going to listen to me? Like, what do I know? You know, like, you know, and I think naturally we kind of devalue ourselves. And the key out of that is just to like get it out and to start like, again, sharing what we're up to. So that's been a huge piece of it.
Yeah, that's definitely been a huge piece, because like years and years ago, I had a hard time being vulnerable, for example. So just like Karen was saying, I would rather hear about what other people are doing, so I don't have to like disclose so much about myself. And it was almost like a protective mechanism. And then just like, again, to echo this, like clearly we're twins, just to echo this, the more we do share, the more all of us share, the more we can actually, you know, get beyond ourselves and help other people. So then cracking through that fear and, you know, being able to be vulnerable day in and day out and connect with people and communicate, that's made the difference, I think. And that's what always seems to make the difference.
The other thing too, with the scaling up of why we've gone from like literally 0 sales to now we're like, oh wow, like, okay, we're doing pretty good. Okay, we're on projection to like, you know, grow whatever, again, like 3,000%. It's crazy. I think it's because we're just asking for bigger things. Do you know what I mean? We're just asking the question. I think a lot of people, especially in sales, they're afraid to ask almost, or they're afraid to grow too big too quickly or something. Because even in today's day, like even in the US market we're tapping into, you know, people are like getting to know sales from scratch name. But so when we get a deal come in, we don't necessarily have what's created for it yet, but we're not letting that stop us. That used to stop me, like going, oh, I gotta have it all figured out. No, you don't. It's just like share, get in front of people, have attention in the marketplace, have people talk about you, good or bad, who cares, and just create with people. I mean, whatever people want, give it to them. Create it, give it to them. So like, I think that's been that's helped us a lot for sure.
It sounds like you guys are creating sales for companies that you don't even have like programs for, and when they come to you, you're creating it on the spot because you guys are creating customized sales, I don't know, scripts or sales programs for each unique company. Is that right?
Bang on. Right now, that's bang on. Yeah.
And then you guys are reaching out. The way you guys are selling yourself is by sharing what you guys are doing, and then you found that that's helped you guys grow your sales, because it's now like you're finding like sales needs to be a back and forth thing versus just like one-sided, right? Where you're just, you know, everything about the customer versus they don't know anything about you.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Yeah. It's
a good way. It's a good way to build rapport, right? Like rapport, point of relatedness with the clients. And then like, I feel like the more that you connect with them, and then they connect with you, it just creates like a stronger bond of loyalty as well.
Yeah, totally.
I think that connectiveness though is what they're saying, is to create that connectivity or whatever, is just to share. Is that the secret to sales? It's just to share.
No kidding, right? Like sharing and serving. No, I love that. It's sharing and serving. Can you imagine?
Isn't that what we're doing right now?
Yeah, I love it. People are like, oh, sales seems so complicated. We're like, no, all you have to do is share. No, it's pretty just like one ingredient. Just you guys. Yeah. No, like it's. I mean, think about if you. Like, think about for yourselves, because like you guys are in conversations all the time, and let's say, you know, someone wants to sell their home, and you know, you start sharing about like, hey, you know, listen, I got, you know, my partner Dave, like he's super great on the investment side as well. Hey, I know you're looking to sell your house, but I just wanted to share, like, we have like a very comprehensive team. You know, we got Dave doing the investment side, we do also the property management side. What if that person, like, you know, whoever, Karen or you're talking to, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, well, I'm selling my house, but yeah, you know, holy crap, I have like family members who are looking to invest in a property right now to get cash flow, and I actually have another cousin who's renting out their place and needs a tenant. Like, do you know what I mean? So like the more you're sharing, the more like the more the conversation layers. We call it actually like seeding in conversation. So that's kind of how we've changed our conversations a bit, is like seeding in like deeper layers of what you're up to, so that people can go, because again, it seems like you're in one conversation with someone, but you don't know who they know. And the more options or variety of the conversation that you can bring to someone, the more business you're going to get. It's just that simple. Like, does that make sense? Well, and just to add on to that, it's like we've been taught, you know, from our business coach and just other people in the community, multi-outcome conversations for the betterment of everybody. Yeah. That's so critical. A lot of people will get on the phone.
Say that again,
so multi-outcome conversations, meaning like if you call somebody, you can either, like, you got the same amount of time, let's say you have like 30 minutes with somebody, an hour with somebody, maybe it's a client, maybe it's like a cousin, but maybe there are like 3 main things you really want to share with this person or talk about. Like, we've been taught, incorporate multiple things that you want to chat about and get multiple outcomes from the conversation versus having 3 different conversations. Yeah. And all it takes is sharing things and being more vulnerable quicker. Yeah. So yeah.
You're creating like multi-outcome possibilities in that one conversation that kind of segues into different like aspects that are different segments of your business, so that you're not like wasting time almost. Like you just have it out there. You lay your cards out and like let them decide afterwards.
Yes,
Totally.
I love the way
Yeah.
you said, you mentioned the time factor again, because what is our greatest non-renewable resource? And like time is such a valuable currency that a lot of people value time way more than money. Like, so if there's 30 minutes with somebody and yet there's still other stuff you want to talk about with them, yeah, you can have multiple conversations, or you can have multiple possibilities, just like what you said, Dave, like in one conversation, or maybe two. So
Yeah.
That's a good. I actually just was reading this thing the other day. It's like, it's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is like having the monetary value of things, but being wealthy is like having the time that money can't buy.
yeah,
So if you're wealthy, then it's like you're quantifying things based on time. So
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that the ultimate goal?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Time, right?
unlimited time.
Yeah. Time to infinity and beyond. Like, yeah.
I think you might have shared, but if there's one more thing or like one more advice you could share, that someone that's struggling with sales right now, you know, someone struggling in their business, what would be that thing you recommend them to do like right away?
So yeah, that's
Other than call you guys, right?
Take the
I
course.
mean, sales from scratch. Karen at salesfromscratch.net, and we're hosting a workshop next weekend. But no, you know, the biggest advice I would give to somebody who's starting out in sales or just like kind of stuck, to get sold on what, first of all, who you are, the value that you bring. So like every single day I sell myself on, why is Karen great? Like outstanding. What is Karen going to bring to the marketplace today to help people? What am I bringing? What kind of authority do I stand in? I've
never done that before. I gotta write this down.
Yeah, most people don't. Most people are like, what are you talking about? Like,
yeah, because it's like, sell yourself. What? But because the truth is like think about it. If you think of yourselves as like in the morning, I'm Jason and I am the best salesperson in Calgary. I am the person to talk with. I am the one who makes the difference. I am going to have outstanding conversations today. I am the one. I am the one to choose. That's going to be very different than if you go, well, you know, I'm one out of 5,000 realtors in Alberta, and you know, okay, I guess we got a good, you know, hopefully I have good conversations today, and you know, I think I can make the difference. Like I think I know.
It's more like, oh, I hope shit doesn't hit the fan today. I hope Dave's okay. But yeah, definitely having that self-talk, right?
Yeah.
I want to add to that too. So it's that self-talk, and really, Tony Robbins calls it incantations. You literally like say things out loud like 10 times in a row, so it gets into your nervous system and you're like, okay, I got this. Like, you know, but the other thing too, you know, a really brand new salesperson who's a little bit stuck, a little bit unsure, a lot of that might come down to continually comparing themselves to the next person, comparing themselves to where they think they should be. And it affects their self-image. So like I'll never forget, just quick story. I'll never forget. I go to this dinner, okay, and I go into like this back room, and there's like a couple billionaires at the table, and I'm like, okay, well, we're nowhere near billionaires, but you know, wealth is, you know, on the way, great. But all of a sudden, I'm like at this dinner table, and I look around me, and I'm like, oh my God, I am not one of them. And I find like new salespeople might look at maybe even their colleague, maybe even like their sibling who's also in sales or something doing better. They're like, oh my God, I'm not one of them. And all of a sudden they feel like they don't have a seat at the table. So like, as cliche as it might sound, it's like, don't compare yourself to others, because there I am, I'm looking at like these Rolex watches that are like $250,000 on these wrists. And that experience ends up knocking me back to the trueness of my values, which are health, wealth, and love. So like, you know, a $250,000 Rolex, that's amazing, but it's not what drives me. And so any new salesperson starting out who's unsure, getting past comparing themselves to others and really pinpointing what are their values and how can they stay true to those values every day. That's going to make the difference, because like in that moment it hits me. I'm like, I don't need to compare myself to these people. It doesn't matter if they're billionaires with Rolex watches or not. Like, what I need to do is stay true to my values and my strongest, most authentic version of me to bring every day to you, you know?
Yeah.
So that was also huge.
Oh, I love that share, actually, because yeah, it's really powerful. Because how do you stay true to your values? How do you know what your values are? How do you not compare to people? I think that's a big question out there. Well, you know, we're bombarded by social media.
Yeah.
For us, it's really simple. Get clear on your goal, your vision, and your why, and focus only on that. What do they say? Where focus goes, energy flows. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So it's being disciplined to like literally get rid of the noise. It's just being disciplined to stay focused. Because, and the other thing too, like we actually teach a segment called Confidence on Demand, which is pretty neat. We're doing this for the real estate guys tomorrow. And a lot of it has to do with like being grateful and appreciating your own internal strengths. It's not about your accomplishments. It's not about what you've done to be like, yeah, you know, I sold this $50 million home. I made like, you know, 500,000 on commission this year. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. That builds confidence. That's awesome. Keep it up. And what are you really appreciating in yourself as your own personal skill set? What is Karen Walton? What do I appreciate about Karen Walton? I sometimes like talk to myself like I'm talking to someone else, because the truth is like that is kind of how it is, right? What do I appreciate? I appreciate that I really care about people. I am really grateful that I have a listening ear, that I can pick up on things that people are really saying, because I have trained myself to listen to every single word someone is saying. I am grateful that I've taken the time out of my day to really connect to what somebody actually needs. Not what I want to give them. What do they need? They're helping me. People help us create our products because we just listen to what they need and we give it to them.
Yep.
It's literally that simple. That's innovation in the basic sense. Give the marketplace what it needs. That's it. So that's
all right, guys. That's it. That's it. You guys nailed it right there. That's the sales.
Give the people what they need.
That's all. That's that.
It's pretty simple, right?
Oh, that was good.
No, that was good.
You just totally cut her off, though.
But you know what I mean? So that's what we would sell yourself on yourself.
Yeah.
And appreciate yourself so you can have the confidence that you need to really be with people, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
I think that's a very, I've never heard that one before. Sell yourself on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. I've never thought of that to be like, I don't know about you, Dave. Do you be like, hey, I'm gonna be the best realtor today or best service today? I don't think
it comes down to like affirmations almost, right? Like what you tell yourself and how you perceive yourself exists. So I think that like that self-talk is very important, to have like a positive self-talk within yourself. But I don't know if was that in our session?
No.
Yeah, it wasn't yet. That's what I thought. But close to what we were doing before with that was like the priming, right?
Yeah.
Like the gratitudes and like I think just priming your mindset to be in a like performance attitude, and also just being grateful. Like it's funny because I haven't been doing it, but I've been thinking about it. I'm like, fuck, I need to prime this morning. And I just haven't had time. It's been such a shit show the last 2 weeks.
You guys sound busier than ever. Though.
It's nuts right now. So it's like, I feel like that's kind of a thing that me and Jason are suffering from right now, is that like we're so busy with the work and taking care of clients and trying to get these things done that we're not celebrating our successes, and we're also not taking the time to appreciate ourselves. So it's like something that's been coming up for me the last week. I'm just kind of like, I'm so tired of this right now. But you got to keep on going. You can't let your clients down, you know? So it's just like, how do you find this balance between like yourself and that self-talk, and then also being able to deliver the service at a high standard at the same time. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any advice on how to keep that high level of performance sales?
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Honestly, Dave, you just pointed to it. So how hard are we on ourselves? Like, think about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard are you on yourself on a daily basis?
I'd say 20 out of 10.
So true.
I'm very hard on myself.
Yeah, very hard on yourself. Okay, well, Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I would say I'm pretty up there, like probably like a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Yeah. Like, so one of the biggest things that we've learned is like, so when we're really hard on ourselves, does that bring your energy up or down?
Down.
So subconsciously, we are all very hard on ourselves because we're top performers. You guys are business owners. You guys want to own that freaking market. And as soon as like, it's again that like, oh, I should have made 15 calls. I only made 10. Oh God. So it's literally like, celebrate ourselves. Stop being hard on ourselves. That brings our energy down. That's not useful. It's discipline, right? So as soon as that thought comes in, I have it all the time, right? Like, oh God, I said I'd do 30 calls. I only did 28, or I only did 20 or whatever. Who cares? You know what? I did 20 freaking calls. Hell yeah, Karen. I will literally get up and like, wow, I will celebrate, because that's the biggest thing that's missing. Acknowledgement and celebration in the world is missing.
Yes.
And guess who never gives acknowledgement and celebration to ourselves? We don't. And nobody really else does either. So I think the biggest thing to maintain momentum and energy is celebrate every single win that you have. If a I'm not good enough thought comes in or whatever, like bringing down your energy, literally interrupt it. We have a 90-second rule at this point.
Yeah.
If that thought comes in and it's not interrupted and we're not changing our state into gratitude, good job, Karen. Like, we just don't let ourselves stay there anymore. So gratitude for ourselves, acknowledgement for ourselves, celebration. Well, we'll call each other. Dude, I made 20 calls. I said I'd make 30, but I made 20. Are you proud of me? Awesome. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to get back at it. It just like, so celebration and also like, we actually do what's called energy cranks throughout the day. So like literally, it's just changing your physiology. And you guys have maybe probably heard of this, but like literally if I'm doing 2 hours of cold calling, and I actually do like 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. But if I'm like in minute 10 and I'm like, oh my God, I've been rejected 10 times already, blah, blah. I just like stand up and I just like shake it off. And I'm like, hey, Karen, you got this. I got this. Hoorah, let's roll. Like I got this. The self-talk, let's go. Let's roll. Like I can do this. I've got this. And it's like that inner like, okay, congratulations. Just like you would do to a best friend is how I treat myself at this point. And you know what though? Here's the thing. A lot of people don't find that easy to do. Like when I was younger, I would rely on other people to acknowledge me. And, I was like seeking validation almost. And then once we depend on ourselves to actually pattern interrupt, it starts creating, like scientifically, it starts creating different neural pathways, like in our brains and our body, way our physiology is. So like, if you're sitting there and you're like, oh man, like I had this goal, I almost reached it, not quite shit. And then all of a sudden it's like getting into that. If you interrupt it by literally standing up out of your seat, and we've learned how to do, they call them power moves. Like we've gone through a bunch of Tony Robbins transformational training too. And like my power move is yes. And like, I know that sounds crazy, right? But I will like stand up, yes. And it's snap myself out of that pattern of, and then what that does is it strengthens those other neural pathways in my brain and body. So I'm not like going back to certain things. It's all about that pattern interrupting and continuing to do that and finding it within ourselves so that we're not seeking external validation all the time. Yeah.
I've heard of that before. Like there was this one book that I was reading about how like if you're feeling like you're lacking confidence in something, like if you just before you're about to perform that, if you like raise your hands up, like it's like as if you've won already, then it actually changes your mentality of being like, instead of being like self-conscious about it, you're like, your physiology changes your mindset of things.
Absolutely. 100%.
Interesting.
Dave, I think we need maybe a little coaching after about celebrating and acknowledging.
We haven't celebrated. That's the thing. We haven't celebrated at all. And well, I think that's something that is very tough right now with COVID, but it's like we haven't spent the time to celebrate. Like, and I feel like that's like one thing that is really lacking. Like, and the hard thing too is even when we were celebrating, I wasn't present because I was in the middle of a fucking crazy ass deal.
Yeah, we went to celebrate and then we all went to eat, and then Dave's in the middle of negotiating a deal in the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm literally pacing in the parking lot, trying to close this deal 30 minutes before it's about to die.
And the restaurants close at 10 or something, and we're like, Dave got back and they're like, we're closing soon. I was like, well, that was our celebration.
Like, I was just like, fuck. I didn't feel good about it. But yeah, it felt good the day after. But then after that, it just, everything just kept kept rolling back again. I'm just like, it's tough sometimes when you're in that like slump, I feel, but it's like, you just have to keep on going. You can't stop, you know?
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting because it sounds like, you know, celebration looks a certain way, like, okay, we're gonna all go out for dinner, we're gonna like have some wine and whatever, and that's awesome. It's because, you know, you're intentional about it. One of the things that's helped us, which might help you guys too, is like 30-second celebrations, man. That's it. Like, you know, is it like as soon as let's say I hit a target in the daytime, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna celebrate. I will just like, again, pat myself on the back. It can be like 2 minutes. I don't have to like go and pop a bottle of champagne, although we love doing that too. But like, you know, it's not like, oh my God, now I get to like go to the spa, or like, no, it's like 2 minutes, acknowledgement, good for you. Sometimes I'll hug myself. Thank you, Karen. You know, it's literally like treating ourselves as we would treat the person that in the world that we love the most, that we would go to the ends of the earth to. We have to treat ourselves absolutely like that. So if that's helpful, you guys can just do that anytime after your calls, whatever, right?
Multiple times a day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah. That is very helpful. And I think that's something we need to start practicing more for sure. So Dave, we'll have a call after this, okay?
What better way to love yourself?
Well, it's just funny because like we just like before the call, like we just closed conditionally sold a big house. And Dave's like, we're like, I'm like, it's CS now. Dave's like, all right. I'm like, yeah. And then we just start talking about the next day. We're just like, it doesn't even be, it's like, and it's like, yo, we just like,
you don't feel good. Like, it's like you want to celebrate, but then it's like, I guess we're not celebrating the way that we think that we should celebrate, right? So I feel like we need to change that mindset of celebration. Like you said, even if it is a 30-second thing or like even a 10-second thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, do a fucking cartwheel or something.
Do the cartwheel. Literally though. It sounds like, so you guys are overachievers in the most positive sense of the word, and it sounds like there's almost like no time for celebration. It sounds like it's like, oh man, I gotta get on to the next thing. Okay, what's the next deal? Okay, great, good job. Yeah, okay, let's move on. And that's exactly it. Like Jason, just what you said. It's a practice. Like at first it seems like, man, okay, we just gotta get on to the next thing. And the more you practice it and the more that incorporates into your guys' culture, the more success you're gonna end up having too. Yeah, because you have way more fun. Yeah, and you're just like, yeah. That would be a really great practice.
That was like one of the things that another coach that we had told us to do was need to celebrate more. We never celebrate.
Amazing. Yeah.
Is there any last things you guys want to say or leave off with, or anything?
You know what? Well, first things first, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It went by fast. It went by really fast.
That freaking flew by. Yeah. And I mean, you know what? I do want to leave off with a quote.
we're into spirituality too, like the energies, the cosmic energies. We do believe in all that stuff, you know, like quantum physics, you know. And so there's actually a quote that our yoga instructor has said a number of times. It's called Tamara Terry's Field of Yoga. We love her. But it says, she says, it's actually Mary Oliver. And she actually quotes and says, ask yourself, like, listen, are you barely breathing and calling it a life? You know, like, are you barely breathing and calling it a life? And something that I notice is that a lot of us, you know, in our culture, just our achievement mindsets, you know, being driven by let's accomplish this, let's do. Being in action is so key. And making sure that we're encompassing what's truly within ourselves to actually keep like exuding and expressing, if that makes sense. So yeah, any last words that you want to say?
Yeah, yeah, just that, like, you know, people go, are you just, yeah, I think that really speaks to, you got to play full out every day, man. That's what it's about. I used to, that quote, like, live every day as your last, I used to like scoff at that, like, what does that even mean? And now it's like, holy shit, that's so true. Yeah. Like, great. So
the only other thing I want to say, and this is not to be a damper in any sense of the word, but one of Karen and I's really good friends, he actually committed suicide yesterday. So that too is like, play full out, man.
Yeah,
we're only living one life, so play full out.
Yeah,
let's stay connected. We love you guys.
Have fun.
So yeah,
celebrate.
Celebrate. Honestly, so yeah. Thanks so much for having us, guys.
Life is too short to be living basic. So
totally. Yeah.
Where can they find you guys?
Oh, totally. That's a great. So our website, Instagram, we're kind of working on, but you can go to salesfromscratch.net. And we've got our bootcamp on there. We've got our master classes on there, and any other information that you want to kind of learn. We've got little snippets of sales information. So salesfromscratch.net, and email me directly, Karen@salesfromscratch.net. Right now, that's how we're reaching people. So
Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, all right. We'll be signing up for some of your other sales courses later. So.
Love it. Tell all your friends.
And all friends about you. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Sounds good. Awesome, guys.
Well, it was great talking with you guys, and thanks for taking the time to have this podcast with us. It was awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks for having us, guys. Have an awesome day. Rest of your Friday.
You too.
See you guys.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.